Hi guys. Today we will be going over the visual analysis of possible meanings behind the photo that you see on the screen. The photo on the screen is the Beyond the Trenches by Florian Bachmeier photo, which was shown in the 2025 World Press Photo Contest. When looking at photos, especially very high awarded photos, you tend to look deeper and try to feel a meaning through the screen. When you see this photo, I'm sure many thoughts arise, but for the meaning interpretation of Beyond the Trenches, I first looked at the title and was compelled to read the rest of what was written about it, because Beyond the Trenches kind of suggests a life touched by war or conflict, but not directly in combat. When you see this photo, you don't see war, you don't see violence or anything, but it does shift your focus from Beyond the Trenches. You think of war, and it shifts the focus from soldiers or battles to the lives impacted behind those front lines, especially children and civilians and people that are maybe not in the fight but are directly impacted by it. The contextual meaning that I kind of drew from this photo, because I researched Florian Bachmeier, and he is known for covering Ukraine's war-affected areas. The image really reflects the civilian cost of ongoing war, including like displacement, trauma, and survival. This child may represent innocence caught in the geopolitical chaos. Like lying in bed, the child may be safe for now, but surrounding context implies an unstable life. What I really thought about this photo was, it's kind of uneasy. Like the child is not really, it doesn't look like she's comfortable. It doesn't look like the bed is inviting at all. It kind of feels like she's frozen or stuck. And one thing as humans we know is children are not the humans to be, little humans to be stuck in a place or moving. And usually when you take photos of them, they're running or jumping or playing, and they usually have so much emotion on their face. And as you see, it almost seems like this little girl has been frozen in time, which is a really good contextual like evidence to look at of being like, what is happening here? Like, she looks like she's traumatized and she's just staring and there's no emotion, there's nothing, which really goes back to the fact that this is a photo that is from a different area of the world, and it's Ukraine's war affected areas. And this really goes to show how much like life and joy and normal things have been ripped away. It feels like almost her soul is gone. Like it is just, it's such a vague, monotone picture when you think of the feelings that come up while you look at it. It's kind of like a quiet horror. I think if you look at the screen as well, in the picture, it's very like mute. Like there's no colorfulness to it. There's no bright colors or happiness or joy. How the child is sleeping and there's destruction happening and raging beyond the walls that she's kind of stuck in, what it feels like. With the composition and subject matter, I feel like the main subject is a young child lying alone on bed in a dimly lit room. The child's posture is still, eyes closed, perhaps asleep or resting or just staring off. It's suggesting vulnerability or exhaustion to me. The bed takes most of the frame, emphasizing the confined, intimate space. The room is cluttered but quiet, giving off a lived-in yet somber feel, like just kind of making you feel almost a little depressed. The lighting is soft, natural light entering from the window on the right, and it's diffused by a sheer curtain. The light barely illuminates the child and the subject, creating a calm but melancholy feel. You don't really see anything bright or jumping out to you. The shadows deepen the atmosphere, evoking a sense of silence and isolation and just being stuck. The color palette in this photo as well is just muted tones. It's grays, it's blues, it's soft pastels. And the use of dull colors really enhances the emotional heaviness of the scene. Like I feel like this photo feels like a weight, like there's a weight on the child. The bedding, adorned with stars and moons, adds the bittersweet contrast of childhood and innocent, but really the harsh realities The environment in the photo as well. There's like the peeling wallpaper behind the child up against the window. The tangled bedding reflecting hardship, perhaps poverty or displacement, and the image really captures a domestic feel, yet it doesn't feel safe or carefree. It feels like a pause in the middle of what almost feels like big emotions or turmoil or just being stuck. I think this photo is extremely deep in meaning and deep in context as well, and reading through what a moving summary of this photo of why it was taken, who was taking the photo, and where they were and what was going on in the world. It really shows like how normal this has become for children to not be excited and playing and carefree and being directly impacted of what this world has done to each other and countries have done to each other. Not only does every action do something to someone else, every action you make in life directly impacts someone else, we also have to realize like these big decisions being made about other countries and war and violence doesn't just directly impact who you're fighting against. It impacts everyone that falls underneath them as well, including children and babies and wives and family members. How some of the concepts in chapter 1 from our Multimedia Storytelling for Digital Communicators in a Multiform World by Seth Gettner. One of the big concepts is multimedia storytelling, and I think Beyond the Trenches is part of a larger multimedia narrative that includes photography, captions, and a lot of interviews and written articles. This image functions as a visual narrative element, evoking emotion and context that words alone might not capture, which I truly do not think they do. It complements other media that could tell the broader story of war's impact on civilians and children. Another concept that we go through in chapter 1 is convergence journalism. Backmir's photo likely exists within a cross-platform journalistic effort. It appears in a photo essay, a digital feature, a social media campaign, and news documentaries. It reflects convergence by being integrated with text and possibly in different videos and audio components, each piece contributing to the same narrative about human cost of war and direct impacts of children. Another concept would be multiform storytelling. This image adapts across varied platforms. It appears on photo websites and social media feeds. Its emotional impact is retained whether viewed on a phone screen or in a large exhibit, showing the flexibility needed in multiform storytelling. Another concept that we go over in chapter 1 is audience engagement. This photograph invites empathy and reflection, and core to the engagement. Viewers, like myself, are drawn to learn more, read more, share the image, or support humanitarian efforts. It really makes you think of how lucky you are to not be in the same position as what you're seeing. Through visuals, it breaks language barriers and resonates with a global digital audience, increasing reach and impact as well. Another concept that we go over is ethics in multimedia reporting. This photo respects the dignity and privacy of the subject, a child in a vulnerable state. It raises ethical questions about war, trauma, and storytelling, without exploiting the subject itself, which is a child in this case. Ethical visual storytelling like this promotes viewers to care without sensational suffering. I think, especially with ethics and multimedia reporting, it's become so normal, and we've become so numb to seeing photos online of people dead or blood everywhere or violence and crime, which really takes away from the message and the meaning, and it almost gives people a sense of like this is normal, and really kind of shuts down our empathy in a way. And I think photos like this, where it shows impacts on children and doesn't exploit privacy and things, but invites you in to learn more and read more and really sit there with the photo and the knowledge that's given and information and really think about other people. I think this photo was captured incredibly. I think that Florian Bachmeier is an incredible photographer. I think everything that they wrote about this photo was incredibly educational and incredibly written, and it really does show why it was posted in the 2025 World Press Photo Contest, and is a great photo for visual analysis and finding different possible meanings behind photos. I think another big part of this photo is seeing in this corner right here where there is a stuffed animal, almost looks like a lion or a tiger of some sort, that it is hiding under the covers, which I think really draws like a big strong animal that you would think like it has such a proud, fierce way about them, is hiding under the covers right there. On worldpress.org, the article is posted and it says Analia, who is 6, who is traumatized and suffers panic attacks after having to flee her village, lies in bed in her new home, Borshevivka, Ukraine. The ongoing conflict in Anelia's home village near Kupiansky, a frontline city in Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, forced Anelia's family to seek refuge. Although this photo is an incredible photo with a great meaning behind it, another big thing that goes into the ethical part is how audience react to it, and I think a really big thing from a source was the backlash this photo got as well. That should be included. In United24media.com, they posted an article with this photo titled "Ukraine Calls Out World Press Photo for Moral Equivalence Between Ukrainian Victims and Russian Aggressors." On March 28th, Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs expressed concern over the World Press Photo's decision to present a paired image featuring a Ukrainian child affected by war alongside a Russian soldier. This decision, along with the recognition of Russian photographers, connects to state-backed media outlets and image depicting the war from Russia's perspective, has sparked significant backlash. Although this is a photo that didn't directly cause a lot of backlash when viewed on its own, Foreign Affairs expressed a big concern over the fact that they paired this image of a child alongside a picture of a Russian soldier, which almost told the story for itself of how it felt like this website was going out of their way, and a lot of articles were going out of their way to show that Ukraine was a victim and Russia was aggressors, and make that connection before anyone reads for themselves or educates for themselves. And although I am not saying on which side you believe in or how things look, photos like this with big meanings and stuff can be dragged into a lot of things that cause backlash and moral questioning. United24media.com also stated that they expressed concerns about recognition of Russian photographers linked to state-sponsored propaganda, showing, they stated, by rewarding Russian photographers who serve as proponents of the Russian state ideology, the competition highlights the aggressor's position, therefore shifting focus from condemning the aggressor to showing sympathy for them instead. I think with any photos that have to do with war and real life events and real life violence, I think there's better ways to go about things than others, but it all comes down to a very blank space of whether what you are showing and what you are writing is true and sits well with audiences.